everyone, how you doing? Welcome to The Frank Life, a podcast inspiring you to take charge of your relationships, career, and financial success. My name is Frank, and I am thrilled to have you joining us today. Just a little life update. I am in Los Angeles this weekend, and it is so beautiful here. California is just having the best weather right now, and I lucked out. I have a room with a balcony. Oh my gosh, I feel so fancy. And I'm here facilitating a weekend leadership and coach training. So I'm super excited to meet a whole new batch of coaching students this weekend, ready to learn how to become powerful and inspiring leaders in their businesses and communities. And this is just part of the work I do as a certified professional coach, where I support individuals who are dealing with the topic of today's podcast. And that topic is none other than stress. Oh, we love stress, don't we? Isn't it so much fun? Yes. So today's episode, we're going into what causes stress, what is stress, and at the end of the episode, I'll give you 5 creative ways to eliminate stress from your life. And guess what? You don't have to do any insane yoga poses or spiritual meditations. These are simple and practical tips. So first, I'd like you to take a moment and think about all the sources of stress in your life. Just go on and list them off in your head. Where are you experiencing stress in your life? What's causing it? Think about the people, the places, the situations, the environments that are causing stress in your life. All right, you have some things in mind? Great. So now I'm going to give you the answer to that question, and there's only one. The only source of stress in life is you. Yep, I just said that. You are the source of all stress in your life. So here's the deal. Nothing stresses us out. No one, no thing stresses us out. The meaning we put on something stresses us out. Psh, mind blown, mic drop moment. Anything in our life that we think is stressing us out is actually not. The meaning we are putting on that situation is what's causing us stress. So we are going around causing all of the stress that we are experiencing in our lives. Kind of crazy, huh? So why do we do that? Well, most of the time we're just blissfully unaware that we are responsible for any feeling that we have. We're responsible for stress. So this episode is not going to be about how to meditate, how to do hot yoga, how to take long walks in nature in order to alleviate stress. What this is about is how you can take responsibility for the stories you create that are making you stressed in the first place. So what is stress? Let's start there. Well, simple. Stress is a choice that we make, and it's usually an unconscious choice. Stress is a judgment. It's an illusion. We choose stress. So our reality is created from two separate entities. First, we have a situation, right? That's something neutral. So the rain falls down from the sky. We lose our job. Our house burns down. Someone dies. Someone doesn't text us back. Someone says we've gained weight. A person stares at us on the bus. Those are all situations. They are neutral. There's no positive nor negative charge to them until we take the second part of reality, which is our story. And this is based upon our filter. And of course, it's biased. So we lost our job, and we take that to mean the economy is terrible. Our boss sucks. We failed in our position. So someone says we gained weight, and the story we create around that is we're not attractive enough. We're not beautiful. Someone doesn't text us back, and the story we create around that is they're not interested in us. We did something wrong. We hurt their feelings. So the first step in understanding your stress is by separating your situation from your story. So for example, With the same amount of aggravation and stress that you can have in your job, someone else could be in your same position and love it. So then what's really the truth here? Well, it's kind of like when we go to the movies. We all watch the same movie, yet everyone walks out of the movie theater with an entirely different experience. Some people laugh, some people cry, some people don't really have any emotion around it. So we're all experiencing life. Life is neutral. And we're putting meaning on all the different things that happen in our lives. And that's what's creating stress. So I'm going to be frank with you, because that's what I do best, and tell you about a recent experience I had where my story was creating me stress. And I have a feeling you may relate to this. So here we go. The situation was a very close family member voted for Donald Trump in the past election. And the second that I heard that family member voted for Trump, my mind wrote a story at 1,000,000 words a minute. I could have published a novel on just the story that my mind wrote. And maybe some of you can relate to this. The story that I had was that that person was ignorant, that they didn't care about me, that they didn't support the LGBT community, that they hated me for being gay, they didn't love me, that I didn't matter to them. I mean, politics is a breeding ground for stories. We receive sound bites of news, we take those sound bites and write our stories around them. So I had this story in my head for so long, and I wondered why I was so stressed out. Well, it was because I created this whole story. And as a result of my story, I avoided this particular family member. I didn't want to communicate with them. Whenever they did reach out, I gave minimal reply, if any at all, because I had this very stressful story. And this is why we live in such a black or white world. Because the stress that we create because of our stories are so hurtful and polarizing that they keep us from actually finding out what's the truth. Our stress creates a story, not the truth. So we are ultimately at the cause of all the stress in our lives. So I coach people on this all the time, on their interpretations. And I had one client who was really stressed out because of the story that she had on what it would mean if someone rejected her business. And by the way, episode 3 was on rejection and how to handle it. So if you're looking for more information on that, check out episode 3. So this client had this whole story around rejection. If someone said no to her photography services, that it meant she wasn't good enough as a photographer. And as a result of her having that story, she resisted putting herself out there and seeking clients for her photography business because of the stress that she created. So that week I gave her an assignment, and that was to come up with 20 different interpretations that had nothing to do with her on why someone might say no to her business. And I was so excited to see her in our next session, and she had a big smile on her face. And I asked her what she came up with. And she's like, Frank, I have the funniest news stories around why people might say no to my business. She said maybe they had a bad haircut that day, and they were just kind of feeling aggravated. Or maybe their dog pooped all over the apartment, so they were in a bad mood. So see, we have all these stories, and by her taking responsibility for that story, she no longer felt stressed out. It's really simple. So stress is when we judge ourselves, judge someone else, or judge the situation as bad or wrong. So all we have to do to remove that stress is getting rid of the judgments. It's that easy. Human beings are incredible fiction writers. We all make up incredible stories, yet none of them are actually true. It's all just a big story. So now think back to the question I asked you in the beginning, when you came up with some things that stress you, and really be frank with yourself. Now, what is the story that you have about the situation that's causing you stress? Who are you judging? Yourself? Someone else? The situation? And now, what if you let that story go? This goes beyond just looking on the bright side, because even then, the bright side is judging that there's a dark side. That's just a surface level rationalization. So what if you truly created an entirely new experience for yourself? So I'm going to give you a shortcut to use the next time you create stress for yourself. Ask yourself the question, what do I want to feel in this moment? Maybe it's peace, love, gratitude, understanding, horny. Because why not? You choose how you want to feel. And after you get really clear on what you want to feel, ask yourself, what's the story I need to have in order to feel that way? It might take a little while to get there, but really stretch yourself and don't give up. What is the story I need to have in order to feel that way? Now, here's a fun little exercise you can do to put this into practice. And I call it the pens of perception. So imagine that you have a set of pens, and each of those pens are able to write entirely different stories based on the type of ink that they have. So you have a stress pen that writes stories that stress you out. So the next time you have a story, you can literally write it down on paper. What is the story that's stressing you out? Then after you get it all out, rip up the paper because it doesn't serve you anymore, and write an entirely new story with a different pen. So there are 5 other choices in the pens of perception, and I'm going to give them to you. Here they are. The first one is the pen of compassion. So that's writing the story from a place of answering, what would compassion say and do about this situation? Then there's the pen of gratitude, which is answering, what are you thankful for about the situation? And third, there's the pen of purpose. So what if there was a divine purpose to this situation? What would it be? Then there's the pen of acceptance. So what if you accepted the situation as it is, not good nor bad? Then what? And then there's what I call the pen of loving no matter what. And this is about unconditional love. So imagine doing something like this when you're in a conflict with a loved one. Being able to write a story from a place of unconditional love, of loving no matter what. You have all of these pens available to you in any given moment, and now it is your choice to decide which one you want to use. Now, if it's really hard, if it's really difficult to create a new story for yourself, the question you could use is, what about this situation works in my favor? That's what about this situation is working in my favor. Because really, the universe is always working with and for us. Everything is serving us in some way because all situations are gifts. So what about your current situation is working for you? Pick up a new pen, write a new story. Now, what parts of your life have been written with the stress pen? Once you really start practicing this and becoming aware of how it's showing up, it's crazy how often you'll notice your stories. And there's no reason to beat yourself up about that because it's normal. It's what we do as humans. We are meaning makers. We're just now allowing yourself to be curious about the story you had by saying, oh, okay, that was just the first draft. And now it's time for the new and revised edition. So here's my new story. So here's what I want to leave you with. What we think is true is not actually the truth. Perception is our source of power. We do not need to control anyone or anything when we remember that perception is our source of power. So if you feel like you don't have control over a situation, that's a sign you're using the stress pen. Stress cares about control. Controlling the self, controlling others, controlling outcomes. Stress itself is the biggest control freak there ever is and ever will be. So what if you let go of the need to control and embrace that perception is your source of power? And on that note, thanks for tuning into today's episode. I'm off to frolic around LA, and by frolic, I mean buy a whole bunch of food and take it right into bed with me and bury myself under the bed sheets. So thanks for tuning in, and as always, it's been great being frank with you. Ciao for now.